Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I have here two articles from the Russians. One revealing what Olaf Scholz, I think he lies about, and the other one, Mr. Dmitry Medvedev, the former president of the Russian Federation, calls him a liar. Why? Because Olaf Scholz tells us straight to our faces a lie. Why? Because he thinks that we forgot. We forgot reality. We're not informed. This is a personal observation from life and from a direct experience, which is with weasels, they will lie hoping that you don't remember or you don't know. You have to, at every point of the conversation or debate, you have to pay attention, because the guys are going to they're going to build their statement, they're going to bring arguments, half true arguments, and you have to pay attention at each one and remember, if you know what he's talking about, obviously on each issue, if that is true. So let's say I make a statement, and after I make a statement, I support it with 10 pieces of evidence, let's say 10. Now, if you don't know 7 out of those 10, you don't know anything of the examples that he's talking about, you can't assess if those are true or if they're lies. Maybe you know something about the 3 of them, but the other ones, he's going to consider them, count them into, see, I provided you with 10, but you don't know anything about the 7. That's exactly what I think, that you will not know those 7. So they say, well, I mentioned this, 10 of them. The 3 that you might know about it, maybe you don't know enough about it, that they tell you only half truth. But the other ones, if you don't know anything about it, you take it as he provided 7 that I don't know anything about it. So he says, see, I brought 10 arguments. How many did you bring? And let's say you bring 3 counter arguments. He brought 10. But you can't verify it. That's on you. This is what weasels do. So I'm going to show you how Scholz comes and tells us why the gas prices in Europe, in Germany, are high. Can you guess? Why did the gas price in Europe increased? Yes, exactly. It's because of Putin. Not because of the Germans, specifically Olaf Scholz being I would call him either stupid or traitor. Why traitor? Because if he made those decisions, and he's not as stupid, I'm guessing, to understand that the policies that he implemented and sanctions against Russia hurt his people. And now when he says the price is high, because remember, the German government paid the extra. I will explain that. Let's get into this first article. Sputnik, it is from today, the 9th of December 2023. Bizarre plot twist. Scholz blames Putin for high energy prices in Europe. Yeah, that imbecile. Yeah, he's an imbecile. But he's the chancellor of the once great country of Germany. The leader of Germany's coalition government attempted to scapegoat Russia for his country's self-inflicted economic woes as Berlin faces the threat of deindustrialization. Correct. In a recent address at the Social Democratic Party, what the hell is a Social Democratic Party? Democratic socialism, no such thing. You can believe in it if you want. In the Congress, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz blamed Russia for halting gas supplies to Europe amid rising energy costs. He accused Russian President Putin of stopping gas flows through a functional pipeline, significantly reducing Germany's gas intake and contributing to a shortfall in Europe's energy reserves. And I'm quoting this idiot. Russia stopped supplying energy to Europe. It was the Russian president who halted gas supplies through a working gas pipeline. Partly true, but you're going to find out. Scholz stated, this has implications for energy prices. But the narrative collapses in light of his country's role in imposing sanctions on Moscow and restricting the flow of Russian energy to Western Europe. Scholz's decision to align with the US and Britain in sanctioning Russian energy sources worsened Germany's problems. The nation has denied itself around 120 billion cubic meters of Russian gas as a result. Germany has instead increased gas imports from Norway and built a new liquefied natural gas LNG on its northern coast to import more expensive supplies for the US. So if before they said, oh, you got to get rid of the Russian gas, they can blackmail you. Now US can blackmail them. But hey, US will never do that because the US is Al Capone, and Al Capone is a good guy. The same with Norway. So you don't want to be blackmailed by this guy, but you're going to be blackmailed by this guy. And somehow that guy is good. Why don't you check that guy's record? Historical record, not, musical. Historical, with invasions and all that. And it's true. They built that liquefied and they were very happy about it. And they're Norway, exactly. It says, all choices made by the West, not Moscow. Correct. And this is what he says. Russian cut off European energy supply. It was the Russian president. Okay. The German Chancellor's statement sounds bizarre after the EU itself has imposed anti-Russian sanctions, including sanctions on gas from Russia. The EU has spent 304 billion euros on gas imports since February 2022, having overpaid 185 billion euros due to anti-Russian sanctions, according to Eurostat data. Vladimir Putin said earlier that sanctions have dealt a serious blow to the entire world economy. According to him, the main goal of the West is to worsen the lives of millions of people. Now, after last year's terrorist attack on Nord Stream and Nord Stream 2 pipelines, gas supplies to Germany were severely disrupted. In November, the head of the Russian Energy Ministry said that Russia itself had not closed the western direction of energy supplies and remained a reliable gas supplier even in the current difficult conditions. If you remember, Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 pipelines, there were 4 pipelines going in, coming back, going in, coming back, whatever there was, or going in. The problem is, here's this. Out of 4, 3 are not functional. 1 is functional. And alternative for Deutschland, that party that will be banned soon because it's an extremist party and they gain more popularity, they're going to ban it, so get it out of the race. Western style, democracy style. They said, 1 or 2 MPs over there said, we can open that one. That one is operational. We can open it. Then they didn't. So who's we? The Russians? All right, let's go to the other article here. Maybe let's go to the, Iran from Russia and the Baltic states, including Germany, conducted an investigation into Russia. Authorities have accused the US and Britain as the main forces behind the attack on Nord Stream pipelines. It says here, Nikolai Shulginov, head of the Russian Ministry of Energy, stated in November that Russia had not closed the western direction of energy supplies and continues to be okay. Let's go to the other article coming from where Dmitry Medvedev calls this guy a liar, right here from Russia Today, December 9th. Scholz lying about gas, Medvedev. The ex-Russian president slammed the German chancellor over claims Moscow was to blame for stopping the supply of natural gas to Europe. You're close. You're not there yet, but you're close. Dmitry Medvedev, the deputy head of the Russian... I don't like this. Let's move right there. Security Council and the country's ex-president has accused German Chancellor Olaf Scholz of quote-unquote lying after the latter shared his take on the roots of the energy crisis in Europe. Speaking at the meeting, he said that personally accused Russia and personally President Vladimir Putin of halting the gas supply to the EU. And I'm quoting, it was the Russian president, I'm quoting idiot Scholz, it was the Russian president who stopped gas supplies through undamaged gas pipelines, plural. Thus, 50% of the Germany's gas supply was called into question. 50 billion cubic meters of gas that went through them became inaccessible. Scholz claimed during the event, hailing the government's efforts to buy gas elsewhere. Now, this is what Medvedev said. The German is lying through his teeth. They rejected it themselves. They screwed over their own people because of the hatred for Russia, and now they are dodging and lying. While Scholz did not elaborate on the matter during his speech, details, remember the 7 things? The details. He was apparently referring to the troubles around Nord Stream, but he said pipelines, plural, that unfolded last summer, shortly before the pipelines ended up being destroyed in a sabotage attack on September 26. At the time, Russian energy giant Gazprom was forced to drastically reduce gas deliveries through the pipelines owing to technical issues related to the maintenance of turbines for Nord Stream 1. Remember those ones? They were sent to Trudeau, Siemens turbines, and Trudeau didn't want to send them back, and then they sent it back repaired, and this guy said they didn't have to send it, it was good to go, things, and the Russians said, well, they're not good. The difficulties with resurfacing the turbines stemmed from Western sanctions on Russia. Yeah, Trudeau, remember? Which effectively prevented the maintenance and timely delivery of spare parts. You can't say it was the Russians. It was the other ones in place placing sanctions on Russia, therefore on themselves, and the terrorist attack on the Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 pipelines. Remember when Olaf Scholz went to Biden. He went, it was March 2022, February, something like that. And he was asked specifically over there, and when he returned to Germany as well. I think he flew to, if I remember correctly, flew to Germany from France. He met Macron, and he was asked the same way. Are you going to close the Nord Stream 1 and 2? Are you going to close the Nord Stream 1? And he was like, ich weiß es nicht. Ich weiß es nicht. I don't know. Okay, ich weiß es nicht. And remember when he went in front of, it was at the White House with, what's his name? The Sleepy Joe, or barely conscious Joe. And he was asked like 3 times or 4 times, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that? Remember what Biden said when he was asked about that? That's not going to work. That's not going to work. We're going to take care of it. So who stopped it? Russia or these guys? What are you talking about? Just to start with that one. And then who said we can't depend on Russian gas? We can't depend on Russian oil. Was Russia saying that, or the other ones? Oh, they're going to blackmail. We have to, we're going to make it on our own. And what did they do? This is how much it cost the Russian gas from, let's say, this much. Okay, so you can see it on my chest. Right here on my bed. Now, when they started buying extra from LNG and Norway and wherever they could find, remember the price increased this much. So this portion, so the price became this much. From this, when they were boarding the Russians, became this much. I think it was 3 times. So it was $1, now it was $3. So from here to here. And then what the government of Germany did about it, they borrowed and they subsidized this extra. So they said the population will pay the same amount they used to pay when we had cheap Russian gas, and the rest that now we're going to pay for it, the government. And I said it many times, that's going to go away because that's going to be borrowed, the money, right? I don't know if Germany works in a profit or is in a deficit, okay, financial deficit. Nevertheless, they're going down there. I think they're going down. They're deindustrializing their country. So then they said in January they're going to stop subsidizing this to the population. That means the population, they used to pay this much when the Russians delivered, and since they imposed sanctions until now, they have to pick up this one. So they're going to pay this way in January or March, if I remember correctly. I think it was March. It was a full price. What are you going to do? You're going to have less for other things. And some people will not have anything. So this is what's going on here. And I said this in many videos before. This is what's going to happen, and everything is going to be dropped on the Deutsche Volk. That's what's going to be. They will pay it. They and their future generations, because these guys destroy their country, their economy, and then they destroy it. So it's like an airplane that goes down. Now, if this angle goes steep enough and you don't have a height, enough, you can't remediate it to bring it back. You're going to hit down there. So these guys, the angle of, I don't know how you call it in English, but I don't want to say angle of attack. But if it goes too steep, you can't bring it back up. You can't, the plane cannot do it because it picks up too much speed. You can't bring it back. You're going to go and hit the ground. And these guys are going, increasing the angle where they're going to just go down, going to become the batch of someone else. Guess who those are? The financiers. Who are the financiers? The bankers. The bankers who profited out of this war. At least three industries. I'm talking about industry, economically. The military industrial complex, which is army, these guys with weapons, building weapons. They have just a coincidence. Then they have the banking system, big time. And then they have the energy sector. The guys that have to increase the price of their gas because of lack of supplies from Russia, correct? Correct. Supply and demand, there you have it. Scarce supply, large demand, prices jump up. So there are some companies that made a lot of profit. I used to cover this last year when they were talking about it, how much profit these guys, the oil companies and the gas companies made. I don't hear anything right now. And Raytheon and Boeing, and what's the other one? Lockheed Martin and so on. And Rheinmetall, the German one. I can't remember the French one, but nevertheless. They all had a blast. The ones that they were allowed to participate, because they were the ones that delivered weapons to the countries that would give their weapons, all weapons, to Ukraine. So only a few countries were allowed to go and have contracts with the countries. Just a few companies. Not all of them. Not the Romanians. No, they were not. Because they're going to be NATO, going to be this, going to be that, and they're going to, you send that, we're going to give you new ones. So pushing away those manufacturers, arms manufacturers, and get more commands, or how do you call it, orders, not commands, orders. So yeah, this guy is lying. And the problem is, if you don't know anything about it, you're going to say, yeah, that's right, Putin. Remember the 7 that you don't know anything about it? And he's gonna check it like, yes, I told them. Yeah, that's true. No, that's not true. It's a lie. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.